You'll be able to read?
Okay, I can read.
Okay, I'll just read. Okay, so Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, text 22. Name parthasti kartavyam
नामे
नमे
अस्तित कर्तव्यम
कर्तव्यम
trishu lokeshu kinchana
तिषु लोकेषु किंचन
nana vaptam avaptavyam
नावाप्तम
अवाप्तव्यम
अवाप्यम बढ़ते
partha eva cha karmani.
वर्त
बढ़ते एव च कर्मणि.
O son of Parth, there is no work prescribed for me within all the three planetary systems, nor am I want of anything, nor have I a need to obtain anything, and yet I am engaged in prescribed duties. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is described in the Vedic literatures as follows: Tam Ishwaranam Pramam Maheshwaram, Tam Devatanam Pramamam Cha Davyatam, Patim Patinam Paramam Parastad, Vidam Devam Bhuvnesham Idyam, Na Tasya Karyam Karanam Cha Vidyate, Na Tat Samas Chabhyadhikas Cha Drishyate, Parasya Saktir Vividhev Shruyate, Swabhaviki Gyan Balakriya Cha. The Supreme Personality is the controller of all other controllers, and he is the greatest of all the diverse planetary leaders. Everyone is under his control. All entities are delegated with particular power only by the Supreme Lord. They are not supreme themselves. He is also worshipable by all demigods and is the supreme director of all the directors. Therefore, he is transcendental to all kinds of material leaders and controllers and is worshipable by all. There is no one greater than him, and he is the supreme cause of all causes. He does not possess a bodily form like that of an ordinary living entity. There is no difference between his body and his soul. He is absolute. All his senses are transcendental. Any one of his senses can perform the action of any other sense. Therefore, no one is greater than him or equal to him. His potencies are multifarious, and thus his deeds are automatically performed as a natural sequence. Since everything is in full opulence in the personality of Godhead and is existing in full truth, there is no duty for the Supreme Personality of Godhead to perform. One who must receive the results of work has some designated duty, but one who has nothing to achieve within the three planetary systems certainly has no duty. And yet, Lord Krishna is engaged on the field of Kurukshetra as the leader of Kshatriyas because the Kshatriyas are duty bound to give protection to the distressed. Although he is above all the regulations of the revealed scriptures, he does not do anything that violates the revealed scriptures.
So here Krishna is telling Arjuna no, that he doesn't need to work. We are forced to work. We can't maintain ourselves without working. There's so many duties we need to perform. But Krishna, he doesn't need to. When he came, he's standing, of course, here on the battlefield as a Kshatriya, but does it mean that he's not the Supreme Lord?
No.
Yeah, he's still the Supreme Lord, right? Even though he's standing there as a Kshatriya, but he is God himself. So because he is God, he actually does not need to do any of this. Does not need to act as a Kshatriya. Yeah, it's said that he's the controller of all controllers. So are you able, so what is the position of the demigods in relationship to the Supreme Lord?
Everyone is under his control.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Everyone's under his control. Yeah. So the demigods are also living entities like us. They are also Jivatma. Except, of course, Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is a tattva in himself. But
What is a
Lord
tattva?
Brahma, I'm sorry,
What is a tattva?
tattva is that his individuality, like, we are Jeev tattva. We are,
Okay.
that's our position. Lord Shiva has his own tattva, and then, of course, Lord Vishnu, Krishna, that's all Krishna, Vishnu tattva.
Okay.
Okay. So we living entities, we can also become Lord Brahma, Lord Indra, because these are posts. They are not a particular person. It's a post like Minister of Agriculture, Minister of Education, Minister of Transport. So any living entity who's qualified to be appointed for that post, Krishna appoints them. And of course, the demigods are all devotees of Krishna. They're all devotees and they're qualified to be on this post. But they are receiving their powers from the Supreme Lord. They are helping him manage, or rather, they are doing the service of managing the affairs of this material universe, just like the ministers they're managing the different departments of the country under the rule of the president or prime minister. That's what the demigods are doing. So they are getting their powers from the Lord, from Krishna.
And how
And
about Shiva? Is like no one can take his place, right?
no one can take his place. It's like the relationship between Lord Shiva and Lord Krishna is explained by Lord Brahma is,
Okay.
milk. Milk can be made into yogurt, right?
Yeah.
But once you have yogurt, can you get milk again from it?
No.
Okay. So that's the position of Lord Shiva. Lord
Mm.
Vishnu expands himself as Lord Shiva. But once he is Lord Shiva cannot become Lord Vishnu again.
Okay.
So he's a tattva by himself. We have to understand that the source, the origin of everything, everyone is Lord Krishna.
Okay.
We exist because Krishna exists.
Mm.
We are tiny, tiny parts of Krishna, no? So in a way, we are tiny, tiny expansions, not personal. We are not Vishnu Tattva. We are Jiva Tattva,
Mm.
but we are coming from Krishna. There is no one or nothing that does not come from Krishna.
Mm-hmm.
Be it the material energy. Material energy is Krishna's separated energy.
Mm.
And then
Okay.
Lord Shiva is also an expansion coming from Krishna. He's an individual by himself. Once Krishna expands as Shiva, then that personality cannot become Krishna again.
And there's only one Shiva, or are there also multiple
Sadashiv.
Shivas
So,
in different universes?
yeah, that's right. So there is one Sadashiv,
Mm.
and then his expansions are there in the different universes.
Okay.
Okay. So then Krishna's body is not ordinary, like how we have this body which is made of skin, bone, blood, mucus, bile. No, Krishna's body is transcendental, Sat, Chit, Ananda. He does not have a material body. We, in our pure position, also don't have a material body. The spirit soul has a spiritual body, Sat, Chit, Ananda. Spiritual body is Sat, Chit, Ananda. This, because we are in the material atmosphere, we have been given this material body just so that we can survive in this material atmosphere. Like the fish, they have suitable bodies to live in the water. The birds have suitable bodies to fly in the sky. So we have this material body to stay in this material atmosphere. But Krishna, his body is transcendental. even when he comes to the material world, his body is transcendental. He never takes a material body. He's never under the control of Maya, under the control of material nature. So that's a difference between him and us. When we come under the material world, we are forced to come to the material world. We are forced to take different births. But Krishna, he comes by his own will. Just like Prabhupada would give example that the king, he visits the prison just to speak to the prisoners, to see if anyone is reformed. He can encourage them to come out into normal society. He's not forced to go there. He came by himself. He can leave whenever he wants. He doesn't need to he does not wear a prisoner uniform. But the other prisoners who are there, they are forced to go in there. They have to wear a prisoner's uniform and they have to follow the rules of the prison. Now, if the prisoner starts thinking, oh, the king is here, so the king is also a prisoner, then the prisoner is being foolish. Instead of taking advantage of trying to meet the king, speak to him, see if there's a way he can get out of there, he just keeps saying, oh, the king has also become a prisoner. He's just simply wasting his time and his opportunity to get out of the prison. Yes. So that's how Krishna's position. When Krishna comes to the material world, his body is transcendental. So there is no one greater or equal to him. God is great. There's no one greater or equal to God. Can we say that I'm equal to God in any way? No, we can't. We can't. Otherwise, God means someone who's the most powerful. No one can be equal to or greater than him. And we say God he's omnipotent, right? So yes, he has these potencies, many, many potencies. Many potencies. His deeds are automatically performed as a natural sequence. So he's not acting under the law of karma or anything. He's just acting for the sake of pastimes. This is said in the Shrateshvatara Upanishad. We can see Srila Prabhupada is always giving evidence. Where is this coming from? He's always quoting from the different Vedas, different scriptures. So this is coming from the Shrateshvatara Upanishad. So the Supreme Lord Krishna, he has no duty to perform. He's not an ordinary Kshatriya that he has to fight the war. No, but he is being the example. Because whatever a great personality does, common people follow. Isn't it? Krishna will say that in the next verse, I think, that whatever great people do, common people, or certainly all men, because then people will say, oh, well, Krishna didn't do it, why should I do it? So no, he does it to set the example. He's being the example. Yadi hi aham na varteyam.
Yadi hi aham varteyam
Jatu karmani atandritaha.
jatu karmane atendriyatah
Mama vartamano vartante.
mam vartam anuvartante
Manushya partha sarvashah.
manushyaha partha sarvashah.
For if I ever fail to engage in carefully performing prescribed duties, O Parth, certainly all men would follow my path. In order to keep the balance of society, tranquility for progress in spiritual life, there are traditional family usages meant for every civilized man. Although such rules and regulations are for the conditioned souls and not Lord Krishna. Because he descended to establish the principles of religion, he followed the prescribed rules. Otherwise, common men would follow in his footsteps because he is the greatest authority. From the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is understood that Lord Krishna was performing all the religious duties at home and out of home as required of a householder.
Yeah, so he's playing the part. He's playing his part perfect. He doesn't need to. He doesn't need to, but he's teaching by example. You know, a good teacher teaches by example. Utsideyur ime loka.
Utsideyur ime loka.
Ime loka
Na kuryam karma ched aham.
na kuryam karma chetah aham
Sankarasya cha kartasya.
sankarsya cha tashyama
Upahanyam ima praja.
upanyam ma prajaha.
If I did not perform prescribed duties, all these worlds would be put to ruination. I would be the cause of creating unwanted population, and I would thereby destroy the peace of all living beings. Varna Shankara is unwanted population, which disturbs the peace of the general society. In order to check the social disturbance, there are prescribed rules and regulations by which the population can automatically become peaceful and organized for spiritual progress in life. When Lord Krishna descends, naturally, he deals with such rules and regulations in order to maintain the prestige and necessity of such important performances. The Lord is the father of all living entities, and if the living entities are misguided, indirectly the responsibility goes to the Lord. Therefore, whenever there is general disregard of regulative principles, the Lord himself descends and corrects the society. We should, however, note carefully that although we have to follow in the footsteps of the Lord, we still have to remember that we cannot imitate him. Following and imitating are not on the same level. We cannot imitate the Lord by lifting Govardhan Hill as the Lord did in his childhood. It is impossible for any human being. We have to follow his instructions, but we may not imitate him at any time. The Srimad Bhagavatam affirms, Naitat samacharej jatu manasapi he anishvara vinashate acharan modhyad yatha rudro buddhi jam visam Ishwaranam vacha satyam tathai vacharitam kvachit tesam yat swa vacho yuktam buddhimam tat samacharit. One should simply follow the instructions of the Lord and his empowered servants. Their instructions are all good for us, and any intelligent person will perform them as instructed. However, one should guard against trying to imitate their actions. One should not try to drink the ocean of poison in imitation of Lord Shiva. We should always consider the poison of the position of the Ishvara, of those who can actually control the movements of the sun and moon, as superior. Without such power, one cannot imitate the Ishvaras who are super powerful. Lord Shiva drank poison to the extent of swallowing an ocean. But if any common man tries to drink even a fragment of such poison, he will be killed. There are many pseudo devotees of Lord Shiva who want to indulge in smoking ganja and similar intoxicating drugs, forgetting that by so imitating the acts of Lord Shiva, they are calling death near, very near. Similarly, there are some pseudo devotees of Lord Krishna who prefer to imitate the Lord in his Ras Leela or dance of love, forgetting their inability to lift Govardhana hill. It is best, therefore, that one not try to imitate the powerful, but simply follow their instructions, nor should one try to occupy their posts without qualification. There are so many incarnations of God without the power of the Supreme Godhead.
Krishna is continuing to say that if he didn't perform the duties, then everyone will say, oh, Krishna didn't do it. So then they would, what we would do, we would say, well, Krishna didn't do it, so why should I do? And then we will be encouraged to engage in sinful activities. And that's why he's saying there would be cause of creating unwanted population when there's many sinful activities. Then comes unwanted population. So just to keep the social order properly, Krishna performs his duties. And Prabhupada is pointing out there is a difference between following and imitating. What we get carried away is that we try to imitate instead of follow. We have to understand the difference. Follow means to follow the instructions of Krishna, not imitate him. Because many people say, oh, well, Krishna, he was dancing with so many gopis, and so even I should be able to do it. But then, are we able to lift the Govardhan hill? You know, we can't disregard one and choose the other, right? So, no, and if we are going to just be a disturbance to ourselves and others, if we try to imitate, what we have to do is follow the instructions as Krishna is leaving behind in Bhagavad Gita for us. Follow the instructions of Krishna. He's saying, surrender unto me. Always think of me, become my devotee, offer obeisances to me. So those are the things we need to follow. And Prabhupada is pointing out that why Krishna is setting the example, because as a good father sets the example for the children, so Krishna, he's setting the example. He's setting the example. Prabhupada is also pointing out that Bhagavatam says that don't try to imitate the great personalities, but follow the instructions. And regard is made to Lord Shiva. You know, can we imitate Lord Shiva? He drank a whole ocean of poison. We won't be able to do it. We are going to die. But follow the instructions of Lord Shiva. He is Mahachano Yena Gata Sapan. He is Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu. He's the greatest Vaishnava. What is he saying? He's saying to become devotee of the Lord. He's the greatest devotee of the Supreme Lord. He's always meditating on the Supreme Lord. So one should follow his instructions and also become a devotee of Krishna instead of imitating, because imitation is where the danger is. That the great personalities are doing whatever they're doing because they have the capability to do it. Lord Shiva has the capability to drink the poison. We don't. But we can follow his instructions. We can follow his instructions and become devotee of Krishna. So Prabhupada is saying that, you know, whoever is these powerful, great demigods that, you know, whoever, they have that power, they have the qualification. We should not artificially try to imitate that I have become so great. Rather, we should humbly follow in the instructions of the pure devotees. Like Haridas Thakur, he was chanting almost 24 hours a day. Now, someone will say, I'm going to imitate Haridas Thakur. But no, we can't imitate him. No, follow his instructions. Yes, we do our chanting, minimum 16 rounds. And that, because we can't artificially try to put ourselves over there in that position. The 6 Goswamis were barely eating. Raghunath Das Goswami was barely eating anything. He would drink some chash every few days. We can't imitate him. No, but we can follow the instructions. Yes, hear and chant. Hear and chant. That's the point. Sakta karmani avidvamso.
Sakta adipan vans
Yatha kurvanti bharata.
yatha kurvanti bharat
Kuryat vidvams tatha saktash.
kuryat vidvana tatha asaptah
Chikeshur loka sangraham.
loka sangrah. Sangraham.
As the ignorant perform their duties with attachment to results, the learned may similarly act, but without attachment, for the sake of leading people on the right path. A person in Krishna consciousness and a person not in Krishna consciousness are differentiated by different desires. A Krishna conscious person does not do anything which is not conducive to development of Krishna consciousness. He may even act exactly like the ignorant person, so much attached to material activities, but one is engaged in such activities for the satisfaction of his sense gratification, whereas the other is engaged for the satisfaction of Krishna. Therefore, the Krishna conscious person is required to show the people how to act and how to engage the results of action for the purpose of Krishna consciousness.
So the intention by which one is doing the duty. Krishna is saying one is doing the duty because he is attached to the result. He wants to enjoy the result. We are doing that. I'm going to do this because I'm going to get whatever idea we may have. I'm going to get famous. I'm going to get worship. I'm going to get whatever money. I'm going to get so many things that we want. We get attached to the result. But now a Krishna conscious person, why does he act? He acts as a matter of duty for the satisfaction of Krishna. He's not attached to the result, but he understands that it is his duty to act, and he offers the result to Krishna. So he's being the example. So the intention while one is doing what one is doing. We may act because we want to enjoy these results, but a pure devotee, he acts just to please Krishna. So the pure devotee shows us, he sets an example, how we can also become Krishna conscious, working for the pleasure of Krishna. That's Karma Yoga. So Krishna never says, don't do any work. No, do for the pleasure of Krishna. As we are having material duties, we have spiritual duties. Do both for the pleasure of Krishna. We get so engrossed saying that this is my material duty, I need to do it. But what about the spiritual duties? We have those too. Our hearing and chanting. That also should be done. Na buddhi bedam janayet.
Na buddhi bhedam janayet.
Ajnanam karma sanginam.
Ajnanam karma sanginam.
Joshayet sarva karmani.
Joshayet sarva karmani.
Vidwan yukta samacharan.
Vidwan
Yukta samacharan.
so as not to disrupt the minds of ignorant men attached to the fruitive results of prescribed duties, a learned person should not induce them to stop work. Rather, by working in the spirit of devotion, he should engage them in all sorts of activities for the gradual development of Krishna consciousness. Vedas cha sarver aham eva Veda. This is the end of all Vedic rituals. All rituals, all performances of sacrifices, and everything that is put into the Vedas, including all direction for material activities, are meant for understanding Krishna, whose ultimate goal of life. But because the conditioned souls do not know anything beyond sense gratification, they study the Vedas to that end. But through fruitive activities and sense gratification regulated by the Vedic rituals, one is gradually elevated to Krishna consciousness. Therefore, a realized soul in Krishna consciousness should not disturb others in their activities or understanding, but he should act by showing how the results of all work can be dedicated to the service of Krishna. The learned Krishna conscious person may act in such a way that the ignorant person working for sense gratification may learn how to act and how to behave. Although the ignorant man is not to be disturbed in his activities, a slightly developed Krishna conscious person may directly be engaged in the service of the Lord without waiting for other Vedic formulas. For this fortunate man, there is no need to follow the Vedic rituals, because by direct Krishna consciousness, one can have all the results one would otherwise derive from following one's prescribed duties.
So Krishna is saying that wherever we are at, we should evolve from that point. So if someone is working, we should not tell them, hey, you're foolish, don't do this, don't do that. No, rather show them how doing their work, they can become Krishna conscious. That's what we are trying to learn now. We are attached to our duties, we are attached to the results of our duty. So what shall we do? Okay, let us also begin hearing and chanting. Let us also begin pleasing Krishna by our work instead of being so attached to the result of our work. Gradual development of Krishna consciousness. Can't abruptly change our position. That's not needed, not required. Krishna does not want us to do that. He's saying you do your work, you gradually come to me, gradually learn Krishna consciousness, hear, chant, hearing and chanting. So Prabhupada is pointing out that the Karmakand section is there in the Vedas. Why? Because we want to enjoy. We want to enjoy the senses. And so a big part of the Vedas are there for this reason, or that you do this kind of ritual, you do that kind of ritual, and you can go to the heaven and you can enjoy and have a greater life of enjoyment. But of course, that's not the goal of the Vedas. The goal of the Vedas is gradually to bring us to the point of Krishna consciousness. The goal is not just to go to the heavenly planets. But because we are so attached to sense enjoyment, we think, oh yes, if I reach Swarglok, that's the goal. No, the Vedas, sarver ahameva vedya. By all Vedas, one has to know Krishna. One has to come to the point of Krishna consciousness. So then the choice is ours. We want to take this gradual process of, performing so many different kinds of rituals, going to the heavenly planets, from there gradually elevating our consciousness, and then one day go back home, back to Godhead in some lifetime or the other. Or we directly take up Krishna consciousness in this life. We directly take up the path of hearing and chanting about Krishna, engaging in devotional service to Krishna. The choice is ours. One is indirect. It may take a long, long time. But what happens with the indirect process, we get so distracted and we think, okay, this is it, that, well, I'm enjoying so much. And why do I even need to get out of the material world? So again, we may take long, many, many millions of lifetimes. So, of course, as we say, to go up to the elevator, to go up to the 101, we can take the staircase or we can take the elevator. The staircase take a lot of time and energy. We may go up a certain floors and think it's too difficult. I don't want to go further. We may come back. We may get distracted. Oh, I like this floor, so I'm going to stay on this floor. Different things. But when one is in the elevator, in no time, one can reach the top with the minimal time, minimal energy. Okay? Prakrite kriyamanani
Prakriti
Manani
gune karmani sarvashaha
Gune Karmani
Karmani Sarvashah
ahankara vimudatma
Ahankara Vimura Atma
kartaham eti manyate.
Kar Aham
Anyate.
Manyate.
The spirit soul, bewildered by the influence of false ego, thinks himself the doer of activities that are inactually carried out by the three modes of material nature. Two persons, one in Krishna consciousness and other in material consciousness, working on the same level, may appear to be working on the same platform, but there is a wide gulf of difference in their respective positions. The person in material consciousness is convinced by false ego that he is the doer of everything. He does not know that mechanism of the body is produced by material nature, which works under the supervision of the Supreme Lord. The materialistic person has no knowledge that ultimately he is under the control of Krishna. The person in false ego takes all credit for doing everything independently, and that is the symptom of his nescience. He does not know that his gross and subtle body is the creation of material nature under the order of Supreme Personality of Godhead, and as such, his bodily and mental activity should be engaged in the service of Krishna, in Krishna consciousness. The ignorant man forgets that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is known as Rishikesh, or the master of the senses of the material body. For due to his long misuse of the senses in sense gratification, he is factually bewildered by the false ego, which makes him forget his eternal relationship with Krishna.
Yeah, Krishna is saying that we are bewildered, bewildered. We are thinking, I'm doing it, I'm doing it. We always like to take credit. That's because of our false ego. And who is actually carrying out the activities is the three modes of material nature. We are very bound by these modes of nature. We think we are independent. Our only independence is either we choose Krishna or we choose to act away from Krishna. That's the only choice. Once we choose Krishna, then we are under the control of spiritual energy. Once we choose Maya to go away from Krishna, we are under the control of these three modes of material nature. The modes make us act. Our free will is to choose who we want to choose. Choose Krishna, choose to go towards Krishna, choose to go away from Krishna. But because of this false ego, we are thinking, I'm doing it, I'm doing it. We are not able to understand how we are bound by these modes. Actually in the body. So now one may say, oh, well, we may do something terrible, and then we say, oh, well, I didn't do it. The modes made me do it. Yeah, so, but we have to take responsibility. The desire comes from us. The desire is with the soul. Because we may say, no, it's just the modes that are making me act. So making me act. But responsibility, law of karma is there. We are responsible for our action because of our desire. What happens is we do not even know the mechanism of the body produced by material nature, which works under the supervision of the Supreme Lord. Even to blink our eyes, we think, okay, I want to blink my eyes, and we blink it. There is a full mechanism. The Paramatma in our heart, he understands our desire. Then he understands our desire. Suppose we want to lift our hand. He understands our desire that I want to lift my hand. And he sends the signal to the demigod who is in charge of lifting my hand. There's a demigod in charge. And then the demigod helps us lift the hand. So everything is happening under the supervision of the Lord. As a Paramatma, he's giving the permission. And the demigods are doing it. That's why there's 33 crore demigods. We don't understand that even our actions of the body are controlled under the supervision of the demigods. And that's why, sometimes we may have all the limbs, but we are not able to use them. Someone may have their hands and legs, but not able to use them as they are needed to be used. So this is what it is. Every action of our body is under the control of a demigod. Say we want to walk to somewhere, we have the desire. Then the Paramatma in the heart sends the signal to the demigod who's in charge of helping us to walk. Then we walk. The materialistic person has no knowledge that ultimately he's under the control of Krishna. We don't understand it, and we take credit. I am doing it. I'm doing it. I'm doing all this. It's because we are ignorant. We don't understand how this whole mechanism is working. We don't know how we have gotten this subtle and gross body. We don't understand it. We're not able to understand that it all belongs to Krishna, and that's why it should be engaged in Krishna's service, because it belongs to him. The senses belong to Krishna, so we should engage in his service. We are thinking, no, it belongs to me, it's for my enjoyment, it's for my enjoyment. But the Lord has given us these senses so that we can engage in devotional service and go back to him. Our ears are suitable for hearing the topics of the Lord, hearing the holy name. Our tongue is suitable for chanting the topics of the Lord, for chanting the holy name. We have an intelligence by which we can discriminate. We have the intelligence by which we can understand this knowledge. But under this false ego, we are completely forgotten our relationship with Krishna, that we have a loving relationship with Krishna. And we can again revive this relationship by chanting the holy name. Chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Can revive this loving relationship. It's an eternal relationship. We have so many relationships in the material world, but we have one relationship which is eternal. It's with Krishna.
So all these references that we, like all the stories and references that we read in Bhagavad Gita, do you suggest like any other book that I can read with Bhagavad Gita? Maybe like I have self-realization and nectar of devotion, which will also like make it more clear, the concepts.
Science of self-realization is good. Nectar of devotion you can read after you finish Bhagavad Gita. First try to read Bhagavad Gita 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, how many ever times you can.
Okay.
Then you go on to Nectar of Devotion, because the references are already here. They are for us to understand. Science of Self-Realization, yes, you can read, or Srila Prabhupada's other small books. Yes, the book Beyond Birth and Death, which we are currently reading now.
Okay.
That's a good book. Perfect questions, perfect answers. Those small books, you could read those first. Or Sri Upanishad also. Sri Upanishad is a good one. And then read Bhagavad Gita. I mean, simultaneously, actually, Bhagavad Gita I've continuously reading. Once or twice reading is we may not be able to even begin to understand what's being said, but repeated readings.
Yeah. Right.
And then gradually going on to Srimad Bhagavatam, Nectar of Devotion.
Yeah. I actually have Bhagavatam set also, so I have stopped reading. I actually started reading one of first canto, then I stopped it. I think I should first read other books.
Bhagavatam, very good. First canto, yeah. If you're studying Bhagavatam from first canto, that is good, because Bhagavatam has to be read and under the guidance. So first finish Bhagavad Gita. First
Okay.
read Bhagavad Gita, then come to Bhagavatam.
Mhm. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think let's stop here, because we won't have enough time to finish this entire thing. Let's stop here.
Okay.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for listening and enjoying.